And welcome to our Biomes and Biodiversity flipped notes for this section in ecosystems. So here is a picture of the world. It should look fairly familiar to you. This shows the 7 major biomes of the world. There are 6 terrestrial biomes. Terrestrial means land. And the 7th biome is your water, and that's going to be your fresh water and your salt water. So what makes something a biome? It is an area that is similar in the world, that they have similar climates. Climate is average weather for seasons or yearly. Weather is actual day to day. So climate's a little bit different. It's actual temperatures on average. And then your biomes are also based on precipitation. How much rainfall do they get? You might have noticed in your textbook when you were looking at page 99, it's a little bit more like this. There were more biomes listed. The reason for that is many people don't count, instead of just black and white, this biome next to this biome, they kind of count that gray area in between biomes as a separate biome. So this you will also see in the future. So let's go through our biomes real quick. The first one is tundra. So it is not snow all the time. There is snow a good majority of the time. So this you're going to find in the Arctic. In Antarctica, that is also the tundra, or frozen desert. You will find snow there all the time. It's very, very, very cold. And it's also very, very dry. It does not get a lot of rain. Okay, so it does support some wildlife. It supports smaller plants, not large trees. Okay. In the winter, though, it is covered with snow. In the tundra, there's very low biodiversity, and we'll be talking about that word more coming up. Next one we're going to look at is the taiga, the boreal forest. This is also called a coniferous forest. Coniferous means conifers. So a conifer is a type of plant or tree that reproduces using cones, like pine cones. So these are the ones with more of the needles. Usually fir, pines, or spruce. So this is the area in the world where you're usually going to see this boreal forest. Here's some pictures. This is characterized very, very cold and snowy in the winter. It doesn't have a ton of rain, but it does get more rain than the tundra. In the summer, it is short, hot. When I say hot, it's not like California hot. We're looking at the 80s, high 80s, maybe low 90s, but summer is a very, very short season there. So there is quite a bit of a temperature range in between the seasons. So the taiga covers about 15% of the earth. Again, like you saw, it's in Europe and North America. It's considered a subarctic region, and there are lots of different types of animals there. We're starting to get more biodiversity than what we had at the tundra. So we have black bears, eagles. Here's a picture of it in winter. Bobcats, lynx. The picture to the left is a grizzly bear, which is a subspecies of the brown bear. There's also river otters and wolverines. This is a picture when I was in Alaska actually 2 years ago. Here's another one, so you can just see that it's not snowing all the time. There are lots of trees there. Again, this is taiga or boreal forest. Moving on to our temperate grassland. So these are found in every continent. You can see there North America, South America, Africa, Europe, a little tiny bit of Asia, and a large chunk of Australia. So there's actually kind of 2 areas of the grassland. There's the temperate grasslands, and then there's also the tropical grasslands, but we usually just call them grasslands. The tropical grasslands is more of your savanna, what you're going to find in Africa. So these are characterized by colder winters and hot summers. The seasons are mostly even. It has the richest, most fertile soil. So it does support lots of tall grasses. And this is not just one type of grass. There's a lot of different types of grass. There is about 10 to 30 inches of rain per year. If it got any more rain, then trees would grow and it would be a forest. If it got less rain, then these grasses would not grow and it would be a desert. You can see these are coyotes. We had bison on the left, coyote on the right. This is what we're going to find more in America with our temperate grasslands. And then more of the tropical grasslands or the savanna, that's what you're going to find in Africa. So again, it will support some trees, but that's usually going to be next to a water source. It's not going to be through most of it. It looks more like an ocean of grass. There's a cheetah in there. So it also offers really, really good camouflage. The next biome we're going to go to is the desert. So again, we'll find deserts in every continent. And there's different types of deserts. So this is what we're going to find again more in North America. So very rocky. We do get a lot of cactus, low shrubs. That is usually going to be next to a water source. It covers about 20% of Earth. Here's another picture. This is a picture of a desert in Africa. So you can see very, very different, but those two are still both considered deserts. Some deserts get less than 1 inch of rain per year. Again, here's just another view. Still considered desert. Deserts, their soil is really high in minerals, but it's very, very low in organic matter because plants don't grow there quite a lot. Animals. So animals that live in the desert, camels are one of the largest ones you're going to find. Mostly it's going to be reptiles, some birds, but I wanted to talk about the camel real quick because it has so many adaptations for living in this desert. So that hump does not store water. Lots of people think it stores water. It does not. It stores fat. So that gives them extra energy. It's like carrying around food. So they can go for very long periods of time without meals in between. They also can drink about 50 liters of water within a couple of minutes. Their eyelashes are really, really long, and that's to keep sand out. They can also close the slits on their nostrils to keep their sand out. So you'll notice their legs are kind of long and skinny. They're actually really, really powerful legs, and the knees are really knobby because they bend down on their knees a lot. That's how they get up and down. And if they think they need to wait out a sandstorm, they will. They'll just get down on their knees. They also have webbed toes, and that they can kind of spread them out so that they don't sink into the sand. So this picture right here, there's another example of a desert right around us. This is actually Mr. Beaver's pictures. He wanted to be included in this presentation. So here is a desert biome. Temperate forests and deciduous forests. You can see we have quite a bit of this in North America. So if you go up into Washington, Oregon, back east, that's what a lot of that area is. Deciduous is trees that lose their leaves. So the leaves change color and then they fall off for winter. So this is what it would look like a little bit in spring and summer. You have trees, elm trees, beech trees. It looks like the trees are really close together, but they're not as dense or closest together as a rainforest. There's very rich soil. They get a 30 to 60 inches of rain per year, and that's not just in winter, that is throughout summer and winter. It appears in the fall. The trees really, really do change that color. It's very, very beautiful. Average temperatures, summer is around 70 degrees. Winters can be around 32 degrees, so it can be really cold. So the animals that live in this temperate forest, They either need to adapt to the changing seasons. Like, for example, the polar bear lives in the tundra. It's adapted for cold weather at all times. Or the animals that live in the desert, they're adapted for hot weather at all times. The animals that live in our temperate forest, they need to be able to handle hot weather and cold weather. So if they can't adapt, a lot of them will migrate. It means they will leave the area for usually the winter, or they'll hibernate. They'll sleep through the winter. And the last one is going to be our tropical rainforest. Picture, very beautiful. Lots of rain. So again, depending on where it is, it can get anywhere between 50 or 260 inches of rain per year. It is warm there. It's close to the equator, so it's very humid weather, and the forests are very thick, so it supports very, very tall trees. Rainforests cover only about 6% of the world's or Earth's surface now. It used to be more. But more than half of all the species of plants and animals that are found in the world are found in the rainforest. So they have a very, very high biodiversity. Most of the animals are going to be insects. A few more pictures here. Another picture of rainforest. There are lots of birds, lots of reptiles. The birds are all brightly colored. Amphibians like frogs. But there's also small mammals, monkeys or the sloth, little guy right here, Bengal tigers, jaguars. They don't all live together. It does depend on what part of the world that they're in, but all of those animals do live in the rainforest. Biodiversity in biomes, or just diversity in biomes. So I was going to use the desert as an example. So this is the Sonoran Desert. This is here in the United States. We have some very large saguaro cactuses there. And then right here is the Sahara over in Africa. It's northern Africa. So both of these are deserts, but you can see they're very, very different. So even in biomes, there's a lot of variety or diversity differences. So the animals here, again, they're both adapted for hot weather, but they are going to be types of animals. So we have desert animals to the southwest. This is what we'll find here. Mountain lions, Gila monsters, skunks. So all of these animals are adapted for hot weather. And then these animals are more in the Sahara. So I know some of these pictures, it doesn't look like they're in those exact sand dunes, like the ostrich. The ostrich can stay very, very long periods of time in those sand dunes, but they usually travel back and forth, as do elephants and other types of ungulates like these guys down here. So we're going to move on to biodiversity. What is biodiversity? Well, bio means living. Diversity is like a variety. So a definition would be the variety of life, and that includes plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, and protozoa. So not just plants and animals in the world or in the ecosystem. So all living things. There are 3 types of biodiversity. There's species biodiversity, genetic biodiversity, and ecosystem, sometimes called ecological biodiversity. So let's look at species biodiversity first. What does that mean? This means the diversity among species in an ecosystem, all the different numbers and types of species. Okay. So all of these, this is biodiversity. The more types of species there are, the higher the biodiversity. Again, there's all different types of animals. Again, most of us don't think of bacteria, but that's included as well as plants. Tons of different types of plants in this picture, and that increases the biodiversity. The second time is genetic biodiversity. So this is the biodiversity or variety of genes in one species. So for example, these are all the same species of sheep. It's the same type, but they all look different because their farmers are making sure that there's genetic diversity in there. This is why we all look different. We don't look the same. Same with dogs. These are all dogs. They are the same species, but they all look different because they carry slight changes in their DNA. Same with people. It's what makes us different. It's a good thing because if a virus came along and it killed half the population, if we were all the same, it would kill everybody. So this kind of gives people a fighting chance. When something kills one person, it won't kill the whole population. And the last one is ecological or ecology biodiversity. So this is the diversity or differences of habitats, ecosystems, communities, and niches within one area. So it's kind of looking at the overall health of an area. It's kind of what is going on. Are there a lot of different varieties, different types of species in there, different types of communities in that biome? Is it overall healthy? So I wanted to bring in the tropical rainforest real quick. So we've already talked about this as a biome, but this has the highest amount of biodiversity. We've ID'd about 1.7 million species in the world, and about half of those are in the rainforest. It's still estimated to be about 3 to 300 million species in the world, so a lot of them have not been identified. The most diverse group is going to be your invertebrates. Those are things without a backbone. So things like insects, crustaceans, which are lobsters or crabs, sponges, scorpions, beetles. Over half of all the animals that have been ID'd are invertebrates. We've barely even scratched the surface of what is out there. We don't know how many more species in this world. And yes, that is a rhinoceros that lives in the jungle. It's in Indonesia. Okay, so this is all the different types of species, not all of them, but a good chunk of them in our tropical rainforest. Again, highest biodiversity. So I like this here because it kind of shows a little bit comparison. So this is not all the rainforest in the world, but we're looking at the US compared to Indonesia. Mammals would be like 667, where in the US 468. Birds 1600, US 888. I mean, and look at the plants. There's over 10,000 more plants in Indonesia. So it's very, very, very biodiverse in that rainforest. The importance of biodiversity. Why should we care? Well, in the world, it makes life livable. Okay, so biodiversity, there's things out there that will clean your water for you. They absorb chemicals, produce oxygen. So all things that are important for us to live. So it allows ecosystems to adjust to disturbances. So a disturbance could be a flood or a fire, both of those we've recently had. If there wasn't diversity, then that could wipe out all the species in that area. So for example, if we had a forest with only one snake in it, and that would do a lot of damage after a fire. But if we had a forest with 20 different types of snakes, where they may have more adaptations or advantages for living in that area, that's going to give that forest a better chance to adjust and rebuild itself over time. People, most of us don't realize this. The importance of biodiversity. How many of you like different types of food? So the more plants and animals we have, the more types of food we have. That's where our food comes from, plants and animals. Also materials that contribute to our economy, like paper from trees, or to build houses. And new vaccines and drugs. A lot of our medicines have come from plants. Plant-based plants derived. And so we never know. Every time we lose a species, plant or animal, Could that have been a new vaccine? Could that have been a new drug? So there is a lot of talk about maybe there is a cure for cancer out in the rainforest that we just don't know about yet. Aspirin is another example of a medicine that came from plants. So to sum this up, biodiversity is very important. We want to keep biodiversity. There is a lot of threats to our biodiversity: habitat loss, climate change, pollution. We are going to be talking about that more coming up later in the year. Thank you.